On today's show, who says he has to pass, man? Nikola Jokic, 19 assists, a career high, and a big win over the Indiana Pacers. We're talking about it here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you for tuning in and being an everydayer here at Locked On Nuggets. Always appreciate the love and support on the shows. My name is Ryan Blackburn. I'm the host of Locked On Nuggets here. Matt Moore has the night off. He's got a stomach bug. Swipa will be with you tomorrow during the day. But for now, you get me. And you get me talking about a big Denver Nuggets win against the Indiana Pacers. Final score 125-116. Really appreciated the way that Denver approached this game. Really thought that they did a lot of good things in this one. On this show, we're going to talk about, is the Nnaji renaissance real? Aaron Gordon's jump shot just continues to shine. Why does Nikola Jokic have to shoot if he's going to set career highs in assists? But first, we'll just go over the win, go over some of the notes from this particular game. Just really, really impressed by the way the Nuggets handled themselves in this one. I thought that the Nuggets would be a little bit more aggressive in this game. I thought that they would try to get back to their roots just a little bit, and they mostly did. 74 points in the paint was a very impressive number for Denver. They had just 30 points in the paint in the game against the Los Angeles Lakers on Saturday. Obviously, completely different defenses, completely different ways that the opposing team was scheming against Denver. And you saw the way that Denver decided to attack this one. Jokic was operating in the post. He was operating at the top of the key. He was outletting in transition, doing a lot of crazy things with the ball in his hands. And there was some discourse online about, hey, why isn't he shooting as much? Why isn't he shooting a bunch? He should be trying to get into the flow. He should be trying to get back on the glass and looking for his own shots, doing everything that he needs to do to get himself going. And I couldn't disagree more. I thought the way that Jokic handled this game was incredibly impressive. He doesn't have to he can dictate the game. He can do a lot of different things and does not necessarily have to be like the most impactful scorer all the time in order for the Nuggets to get a great shot every single time. And when they weren't turning the ball over, they got great shots. Denver had 39 assists in this one. Obviously, when you put up 125, things are going pretty well. 36 points in the first quarter, 28 in the second, 36 in the third, 25 in the fourth. They slowed down a little bit, but they were doing great for the most part. They I think, approached this game in a pretty impressive way. 8 of 21 from three as a team. Jamal Murray goes 4 of 4 from three, 16 points, 6 of 12 from the field to 4 of 4 from three was very impressive. All 4 of those, by the way, came in like the first 14 minutes of the game before he fouled himself out with foul trouble, had 3 fouls in like with 10 minutes left to go in the second quarter. So Nuggets, they sat him for a little bit. He didn't really get back into the flow, but he didn't have to. Everybody was performing, I think, pretty well. And Aaron Gordon, he got into the flow early as well, though he also dealt with foul trouble. It was kind of interesting to see how Denver handled that. 25 points for Aaron Gordon, 11 of 17 from the field, 2 of 4 from three. And he played big. He played big against Pascal Siakam on both ends of the floor. Aaron Gordon thoroughly outplayed Pascal. And that's a great sign when you're outplaying an Eastern Conference All-Star at your same position. And those guys, I thought, really set the tone for Denver, Jamal and AG. And it allowed Jokic to kind of work his way into the game without necessarily having to make a statement. Nobody has to make a statement when you're playing great basketball. And I didn't know how Denver was going to respond. I thought that would be pretty good, but nobody ever fully knows how you're going to respond when you're challenged the way that they were challenged against the Lakers on Saturday. And they come out, first game of this road trip, and I think make a pretty nice statement. They do pretty well, get themselves into the flow, and I think that there's just a lot to like about how they handled this themselves. Jokic on the night, 18 points, 19 assists, 9 rebounds. One of the rebounds disappeared. There was some skepticism about whether he should have had a 10th rebound or not. It looks like they took away one of his steals. He had 4 at one point. It's now down to 3. But c'est la vie. 39 minutes for him, 9 of 14 from the field. He ultimately got going as a scorer as the game went on, but he didn't have to get himself going immediately. And I just love the way that he approached the game, dictated exactly what was happening against the Indiana Pacers on a consistent basis. Miles Turner could not guard him one-on-one. There was a really impressive possession where Miles was trying to body him in the middle of the paint. The Nuggets designed a play where Jamal Murray entered the ball into Jokic kind of at the dotted circle, like about 12 feet away from the basket. Jokic backs down once, fakes like a little bit of a fake with going to his left, and then spins all the way back to his right, finishes with the left hand, left Miles Turner in the dust. And when you're a passer, when you're somebody who can see the floor, there's very little reason for the opposing team to double you in that situation because you're going to find somebody right under the basket. And so it was interesting to see the way that those two teams, Indiana and Los Angeles, defended Jokic. Obviously, Indiana's game plan, not as strong as the Lakers' game plan. And this wasn't a very impressive performance from them, I don't think. But Denver took advantage. They played, I think, a very good game. Overall, Jokic was in control pretty much the entire time. And the Nuggets fed off of that. Gordon, of course, had his 25. Christian Brown attacked the paint with reckless abandon. I counted them up. He had 11 shots out of his 11 in the restricted area. Pretty impressive stuff. He was not going to settle. He was not going to take threes. He was not going to take mid-ranges. He was not going to take shots in the paint outside of the restricted area. He was very aggressive, going right to the rim. That's what you like to see from him, especially he's kind of started the second half a little bit slower post All-Star break. And he had been finishing. He had been struggling a little bit with his finishing, but I thought he performed extremely well in this one, really took advantage of the fact that the Nuggets were trying to get out in transition, were trying to attack the paint, and the size advantage that they had across the board in this game. Like Pascal Siakam's 6'9", but he's pretty skinny. Aaron Gordon made him look kind of small. Jokic, of course, makes Miles Turner look small. He's a skinnier center. Aaron Nesmith was their starting small forward. Michael Porter made him look small. He shot 8 of 12 from 2-point range and didn't need. Actually, was it 8 of 12? Do I have that right? Yes, it was 8 of 12 from 2-point range and didn't really need to take a whole bunch of threes. He made his first 3 of the game, but then didn't really need it after that. And Murray, despite the fact that he was like very big and like was hitting 4 of 4 from 3, also was attacking the paint, also was attacking in the mid-range, doing some pretty good things. He slowed down a little bit, but I don't really worry about it too much. But then Christian Brown being defended by Tyrese Halliburton for much of the evening. 37 minutes, 7 of 11 from the field. Yes, Halliburton had a pretty good game. 5 of 10 from 3, 15 assists to 1 turnover. Halliburton is very, very good. But it just didn't matter because Indiana could not stop the Nuggets. They couldn't slow them down in any way, shape, or form. And it was just very impressive the way that the Nuggets handled their business. There were 10 guys that played tonight. I'll get into the bench a little bit in the second segment when we come back. But there were a lot of impressive performances. This was a good team win and was very impressed by the way the Nuggets handled their business overall. When we come back, Aaron Gordon will talk about just a little bit more. And then we'll talk about Zeke Nnaji's renaissance in just a little bit. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. We'll do this one first. Ooh. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better way to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel personally. I have a lot of fun just trying to put together some good parlays. I was very close on one tonight, only short on Benedict Mathurin, not getting to 15 points. And so unfortunate stuff. Indiana let me down. But you'll love it. You'll love it too if you get in on the action. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment count with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. Back at it, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Thanks for being an everydayer, and make sure to go check out that Locked On Daily newsletter. I put out something earlier on Monday night. I think Matt will have something for Tuesday. I assume it'll be just kind of a recap of some extra stuff that he saw from this game. You'll get his thoughts on stuff that you usually get from him during the podcast, but because it's a solo episode from me, if you want to hear Matt's thoughts, make sure to go subscribe at lockedondaily.com. All right, let's get into this real quick. There's a lot of Jalen Pickett love. A lot of Jalen Pickett, even over Julian Strawther. I thought both guys were pretty good tonight. I didn't think that Strawther was bad. I thought that he was pretty solid, and I do think that Pickett was pretty good in the 4 minutes that he played. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the bench a little bit. Let's talk about Zeke Nnaji. Let's talk about Russell Westbrook. We'll start with the good. Zeke Nnaji, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 offensive, no defensive rebounds. That to me is notable. But 2 blocks, 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 1 of 2 from the line. If you told me before the season that Zeke Nnaji would be carving out a rotation role, I would be surprised. Frankly, I would be surprised because I didn't think that he was going to be much of a factor. And for the first, 40 games of the season, he wasn't. He certainly wasn't. And it's fascinating to see how seasons develop at times when you're not expecting certain things to happen. An injury happens. Guys get put into different situations. Zeke Nnaji, I think, was mostly considered a center for the Nuggets for a long time. And now back at his more natural position at power forward, he's playing pretty well. There are still some weaknesses, no doubt. His hands still remain pretty bad. He has the propensity to foul a little bit, to be a little bit wild. Sometimes he does the space cadet thing where he doesn't recognize what's going on. But the physical talent is there. The defensive IQ is mostly there. And he has been shooting the ball pretty well. 6 of 8 is nothing to sneeze at, no matter what those shots actually are. They could be dunks for all I care. 6 of 8 is a pretty good number. And if you stay available, if you're willing and active as a cutter, if you're athletic and can get up on the rim a little bit quicker than some other guys around you, you're going to have success with the Nuggets because Jokic was diming him up. Russ was diming him up. Everybody was finding him, and he was taking advantage of the moment. So credit to him for stepping up in this moment without Peyton Watson. I don't know what's going to happen when Peyton Watson comes back. I assume that he will take Zeke's spot and Zeke will go back to the bench. But there is a part of me that thinks that Denver should try to get to a 10-man rotation. They do not necessarily have to play 9 all the way through. They don't have to cut this thing down. They could just keep it to 10. They could, you don't have to play all those guys a whole bunch of consistent minutes. You could play 6 minutes. You could play 7 minutes. You could play 12 minutes. You could play 14 minutes. You don't always have to play 24 in order for building a playoff rotation or anything like that. I'm glad that the Nuggets are figuring some stuff out with this. Sammy Slam asks, any timeline on P-Watt? No real timeline. What the Nuggets had previously said was that he'd be out for about a month, that he would be reevaluated, I think, after 4 weeks, I want to say. And if I recall, that was about kind of mid-February when they were discussing that. So I kind of assume early to mid-March, March 7th, March 10th. That's about the time that you're probably going to hear Peyton Watson's name again. Whether he is going to be somebody that you are discussing as hey, he's coming back, or he's in the process of coming back. I would guess about that particular time, March 7th to March 10th range. But that is more of that was speculation. That's not sourced or anything. Russell Westbrook. Didn't really like Russ's game. I thought that he was he just looks a little bit uncomfortable. And there's something going on. I don't want to speculate too much, but like first 3 games, tough circumstances to come back to. Charlotte's not a tough circumstance. But then you play against your former team in the Lakers, and they have the moment that they do. And Russ is forced into taking some jumpers that he probably wouldn't have normally taken, but had taken in previous times when the game was kind of uncomfortable for him. Trying to make an impact, trying to do the right thing, not trying to say that he's not trying to do the right thing. But just in general, he gets caught into that trap sometimes of, hey, we are supposed to do this against this team. I will be the one to do that. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily how he or the team should handle it. So 2 of 8 from the field tonight, 5 assists, 3 turnovers, 3 fouls, including a 3-point foul. Don't like that. Think that there's some ways that he could improve. It's not just about the shooting. It's not just about the jumpers. It's more about, I thought he was a little bit wild tonight, and the Nuggets have to continue reining him in. He has to play under control. I know that part of the allure with Russ is that he's going to speed you up. He's going to get you some easy baskets. Denver didn't really need the easy baskets tonight. They were getting those regardless. So I think that, and Big Honey says it here, Russ is just a little rusty. He's finding his rhythm again. Very possible. I don't want to make it bigger than it is. All right. Jalen Pickett came in when Jamal had 3 fouls, and Pickett had some great possessions, 4 points, 1 assist, doing good things. Had to take a 3 that didn't make it, but the baseline floater that he had right at the buzzer was pretty impressive. And he just looks so much more comfortable. It's cool to see. Julian Strawther, I thought he played pretty well. Overall, I don't think, look, the shot didn't go in. I thought his defense overall looked pretty good. There were some times where look, Pascal Siakam overpowers you as a 6'7" shooting guard. That's pretty skinny. I'm not going to, it's not a big deal to me. Thought Julian did a better job of controlling his fouls. He didn't play a bunch. His role is probably going to decrease a little bit. Russ played 23 minutes. Julian played 14. I think that's notable. Part of that was Jamal Murray's foul trouble, but Denver's going to have to continue to find times where Julian is spacing the floor. And so he's got to make himself available. So going to have to earn back some of that trust from Michael Malone if possible. And finally, let's talk about DeAndre Jordan. Again, he continues to do his job. I thought he was pretty sloppy tonight overall, but I do think that there are some good things. Obviously, DeAndre's done some great things overall. He is so necessary for this team. One stat that I'm going to throw out there right now, Aaron Gordon in the backup center minutes that he has played this year, when he is the center on the floor, the Nuggets have a minus 14.7 net rating. In just about 150 possessions, it's not a large sample size. It's not so small that you can't say it's insignificant, though. And I tend to think that the Nuggets, they need somebody who's a true center, especially with the personnel that they have. And Denver just hasn't been good enough on either end of the floor in those minutes so far. So I'm curious to see whether that changes. I'm curious to see what the Nuggets can do about it if Aaron, when he's playing like this, kind of changes that tempo a little bit. But he's got to be physical. He's got to continue doing those things. He's getting back and recovering from that calf strain and starting to feel like himself again. So I do think that there is some merit to it. AJ asks, why can't we have AG or Zeke at 4 and DeAndre Jordan at 5? Well, you can. You absolutely can. The problem is that in a game where DeAndre Jordan has 3 turnovers, drops the ball a couple times, sets an illegal screen, ball goes through his hands and somebody else gets credited for a turnover, he misses a layup, misses a tip attempt, misses a free throw, and he's a minus 8 and 9 minutes, that could be a problem in a playoff series. And too many of those in a playoff series, and you could be eliminated. So Denver has to be careful. I do think that they need to get back eventually to playing Aaron at the 5 in the playoffs, or they need to feel comfortable that they can do that. It's not that they have to do it all the time. Maybe DeAndre Jordan should be the plan A. Maybe when you go into the playoffs, you should expect to play DeAndre Jordan. but I kind of have my doubts. And I think he's one of those guys that can get played off the floor in a playoff series against teams that are really trying to game plan for his weaknesses specifically. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like with this team, but I'm curious to see how they handle it. When we come back, we're going to talk about Aaron Gordon's jumper, which looks a little bit better than the backup 5 minutes, of course. And we'll just kind of wrap up this game and talk about the rest of the road trip coming up. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe, or no, God, not Pickaxe Roll, Locked On Nuggets. Sorry. Gosh, can't believe I did that. Of course I did that. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's very simple. When a player scores 50 or more during a game during the 2024-25 NBA season, Dash Pass members get a 50% off on an order of up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. DoorDash is fantastic. Always love DoorDash. It's something that you never know when you're going to need it. You never know when you're going to have to set the table for a game day feast, or you want some late night cravings or lunch on the go. There's plenty of reasons to go sign up for DoorDash. And you can sign up for a Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members will get 50% off and order the next day. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. The offer is live noon to midnight, the day after the game. So make sure to go take advantage. DoorDash, they're pretty good. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. Butchered that, gosh. Final segment, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Again, thank you for being an everydayer. If you're listening on the audio side, make sure to hit that 5-star review. If you could, it definitely helps us out. And as we continue to get more of those, would love to shout out some of those on the podcast as well. So when I see some of those come in, I'll make sure to bring that to the attention. So if you're feeling frosty, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a 5-star review. All right. Aaron Gordon, gotta love what he has provided, especially shooting-wise this season. Can you think of the last time that Aaron Gordon was this good of a three-point shooter? At this point, he is becoming just a sniper on that end of the floor, and it's been very impressive to watch him perform in a situation where teams are daring him a lot of the time. They're forcing him to turn his game into a perimeter scorer at times. His athleticism is good, but it is still something where he has to, as he gets older, he's still age 29, but he'll be 30 at some point. He's going to have to be a spacer. And this season, he's shooting 43% from three. Jokic is shooting 44.5%. He's dropping a little bit, but Gordon is second on the team. Jamal Murray, by the way, up to 40%. Michael Porter's 41%. Aaron Gordon's at 43%. That is incredible. And some of the shots that he's hit, they're not wide open shots. These are shots that you have to hit sometimes at the end of the shot clock. There was one in the corner that he hit earlier tonight where Michael Porter, he catches the ball late in the shot clock, rises up, but realizes that Aaron is wide open next to him. Dishes it off to him. Aaron Gordon takes it, makes it, buries it. Big shot late in the fourth. And Denver just, they had all the answers tonight for that reason. He continues to space. And when you see, and you saw it against the Lakers on Saturday, they dared him to shoot, just like they dared a lot of Nuggets to shoot. And Aaron made them play. He made them pay for sure. He did a great job, and he has found, I think, a new rhythm post All-Star break, looking like the player the Nuggets need him to be when the playoffs roll around. He is a threat. He is not like a fourth or fifth option. He is somebody that can take over at various points, and the Nuggets are going to need it. Depending on the matchup, depending on the situation, let's say they're facing a team that's smaller than them, he has the ability to beast in the paint, to be a post-up presence, to be somebody that can switch and guard and run the fast break and do a lot of different things, but also space and also be a guy that takes advantage of a team that overloads on Jokic. So credit to him, man. He's been very, very good. And I just really like being able to talk about guys that provide improvements to their game on a consistent basis. You see a weakness and you correct it. You see an opportunity to get better and you do get better. And Aaron just continues to work on his game and make himself a great presence for what the Nuggets need. It's the reason why they signed him to the contract extension that they did. I thought it was a great deal when they did it. I thought it was the right deal to make when they did it. There was a time earlier this year where you look at the calf strain and you look at some of the injuries and you start to think, man, could this be a bad deal? Could this be a bad move that the Nuggets made? The answer is no. Or I guess we'll see. We'll see how it changes. We'll see how it evolves. But Aaron has always been Mr. Nugget. He's always been a guy that you believe in. You make sure to take care of those kinds of guys. Jokic is the straw that stirs the drink. Murray has long been the heartbeat of things and the fire of things. But Gordon was the guy that really took them over the top when they traded for him in 2021. So taking care of him made a lot of sense. And I hope he has a big run. I really hope he could change the focus. He could change the tenor of this playoff year. I think a lot of folks are not thinking of him as a guy that could average 16, 17, 18 points per game in a playoff run. But he is capable of doing that. So we will see whether that continues. All right. Denver goes 1-0 so far on this road trip. They have 3 more games. They've got Milwaukee on Thursday. They've got Detroit on Friday. Detroit, by the way, 7 wins in a row. Detroit is a good basketball team. They have figured some stuff out and look like they're ready. They're ready for what they need. And then Boston on Sunday. Boston's won 5 in a row. Milwaukee's won 4 in a row. Detroit's won 7 in a row. These teams are good. These teams are really, really good. Indiana was good too. They're another capable team. So it's funny. Denver, they're going to be challenged. They're going to be challenged, and I think you need that. I've talked about this before. Winning against sub-500 teams helps your record. Denver's got the 4th best record in the NBA right now, which is insane to say, but it's true. 4th best record behind Cleveland, Boston, OKC. All 3 of those teams are, I think, kind of in a tier of their own. But then Denver's 38-20, and the reason why is because they've taken care of games against the sub-500 teams. They haven't been great against the plus 500 teams. They are 13-14, according to ESPN. That's fine if you're not wanting to be like the best of the best. But Matt actually shared with me a stat earlier today. We were talking about some things, and he made sure to mention, and he's coming around to my line of thinking, of course, that you've heard on this show, that Denver has to prove some things against the top teams in the NBA. And he sent to me, over the last 45 years, only 12 of the 45 NBA champions have finished 500 or worse against teams that have a winning percentage of 60% or better. I don't know where Denver is right now in that. I actually don't know. I think that they're probably pretty low. They're probably still sub 500. But I tend to think that this is an opportunity for them to kind of change that narrative a little bit. It's not so far gone that they can't fix some stuff. They have an opportunity, and I'm curious to see how they handle it. So we will see. We're going to find out. It's going to be interesting to see how Denver looks on the rest of this trip. None of those games are unobtainable. None of those games are out of reach. Yes, they're going to play Detroit on the second night of a back-to-back. Yes, they're going to play Boston at TD Garden in a game that I think is going to be pretty big. I think that's an ABC game, if I'm not mistaken. So there'll be some narratives. There'll be some things thrown around there, and the Nuggets are going to have to prove some stuff. But if you don't think that they can, then you're probably wrong. I have healthy skepticism, but I've always maintained that they can turn this around. They have the talent to do it. The question is whether that talent is going to be pointed in the same direction or not. And tonight's game was a really nice start. We'll see if they could string together some wins. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Locked On Nuggets. Make sure, once again, check out Locked On Daily. Check out everything on the docket that we have at Locked On. There is a thing that I am a part of that is going up on Locked On Nuggets tomorrow. It is the squad show that we're doing, the West Squad show. I was a little bit negative on the Nuggets, but kind of just very candid on what they were providing and what kind of went down over the weekend, but talked with a variety of folks. And then tomorrow you'll also get Swipa. Make sure to check it out. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. We'll talk to you guys very soon.